Ethan Griggs with my blog filmnownforever.blogspot.com. Of course, there's also the website filmnownforever.webs.com. And today I want to talk about why I love film noir. Now let's face it, it's a great genre. I mean, what would cinema be without film noir? Well, quick answer to that would be shit. You know, I mean, film noir. I mean, there's so many. The thing about film noir is probably it's one of those broad genres like westerns or musicals, action movies. It's such a broad genre. There's not a distinct defining thing that this is so film noir. I mean, again, there's also so many subgenres of film noir. You've got the neo noir, futuristic noir, or whatever, or western noir. There's always something that is an imitation of film noir. Film noir came to be about, I want to say the 40s is when it really took off. Where these films, because in the 30s it was just your kind of flat out gangster movies, the afterbirth of Prohibition era, and Depression era, everything. But the 40s is when you really started to get into that real dark, what would become film noir. Movies like The Maltese Falcon and Force of Evil, the great Abraham Polanski film, and then of course The Third Man with directed by Carol Reed with great Joseph Cotton, Orson Welles, and those kind of movies came into play. And then of course you had Bogart did a few, along with Maltese Falcon. He was in Howard Hawks' The Big Sleep. I don't think you could consider To Have and Have Not a film noir. That's a whole different. You could probably put that into like not quite a war movie, but in the tradition of that. But it's kind of a film noir. It's definitely got that feel, that kind of dark, gritty feel to it. But Bogey was always good in a film noir. And it was those went all through the 40s, and then you got in the 50s, you had some really interesting ones. One that immediately comes to mind for me is Kiss Me Deadly, directed by Robert Aldrich. That's a Mike Hammer film, the detective thing you had, because of course Bogey was Sam Spade, Maltese Falcon, and he played Philip Marlowe in The Big Sleep. And also there was another Philip Marlowe one, which was Murder My Sweet. And that one is another great one. As far as, the Philip Marlowe ones, and then you want to jump further on into 73. To 73, I think it was, somewhere around that time, with Robert Altman's great film, The Long Goodbye, where Elliot Gould plays Philip Marlowe. And that one, as far as it goes, in my opinion, that is probably the best. But back to Kiss Me Deadly. The thing about Kiss Me Deadly is, what I love about that movie is it's so dirty and gritty. It's probably, in the 50s, it's probably one of the grittiest film noirs of all time. And probably the only rival that one has on grittiness is some of the works of Billy Wilder, like Double Indemnity. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, it's not really. That's not as gritty as Kiss Me Deadly. It's just that whole movie is just filled with sleaze, and that's what makes a great film noir. That's what film noir is the underbelly of society. It's not just gangsters and detectives. It was always, the outcasts, the dregs of society, just, trying to survive with their wits, their guns, and their women, and that always led to their downfall. Look at Detour, the classic Edgar G. Ulmer film. That's a movie done on a shoestring budget, and it's one of the greatest film noirs of all time. That guy, nothing went right for him. No matter what he did, the whole movie is this guy trying to hitchhike from, I want to say it was from New York to Los Angeles. He's trying to hitchhike cross country. No luck. Guy comes up. He gets in the car with this guy. This guy dies, has a heart attack or some shit, and then, you know, it's just one mishap after another. The guy, and he never gets to his girl. That he was the whole point of getting there. It's just like the spoiler alert there. I spoiled it for everybody there. But anyways, if you haven't seen that one, definitely watch it. And then of course, and Fritz Lang. You take Fritz Lang, who probably, you know, who did M in Germany, which the first full-on serial killer movie, which is the first one. It's one of the greatest. I mean, it's top 5 serial killer movies. And he would come to America and do amazing film noirs. You Only Live Once, Scarlet Street, Woman in the Window, all, you know, just on and on. The list would go on with these films that Fritz Lang did. And, you know, and then, you know, you get further on, you get out of the 50s, and it, you know, the stuff started getting, films started getting more grittier and everything. And then you got one, if I want to talk about science fiction film noir, then, you know, what immediately pops into my mind is Blade Runner. You know, it's a great movie, and it's also also a great book. And the thing about that, the movie and the book are two completely different entities. There's a lot of things in the book that find its way into Blade Runner. The book, of course, being Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. It's a whole different thing, but just the fact the book is a lot better than the movie. But no, let me retract that. Let me just say that the book is amazing and the movie is amazing, but the book and the movie are two completely different amazings. So I'm gonna get that blurred. But the fact still remains that Blade Runner is a great film noir, and that goes into more of the science fiction film noir. If you want to go even further than that, check out Rainier Werner Fassbinder's World on a Wire. And then backtrack a little bit to the 60s, the French New Wave. Filmmakers like Godard, Truffaut, and even Claude Chabrol were heavily inspired by the film noir of the 40s and 50s from America. And that easily, you know, transformed into their movies. Godard's Breathless and Truffaut's Shoot the Piano Player. Those are like direct descendants of American film noir. And Godard, through not so much like Truffaut would do it a lot more. In his Truffaut's final film, Confidentially Yours, it feels like a Philip Marlowe movie almost. You know, you kind of get the Fanny Ardant kind of puts off the thing of a female Philip Marlowe, maybe even a female Sam Spade, but she's got the trench coat, so it may be she may be Sam Spade, but she made the trench coat extremely sexy. But anyways, but the French were heavily inspired by American film noir, American films in general, but film noir was the thing that intrigued them the most, from, you know, looking at their films from that period. And far as more recent film noir, you know, of course, there was the great 90s movie LA Confidential. That's one of the greatest films ever made, in my opinion, which really nailed that. It was the kind of movie that Warner Brothers would have made at that time that movie takes place. Great acting, get Kevin Spacey, Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, all those guys, Danny DeVito. But no, to sum this video up here, all those films that I have named off are great, amazing films. Oh, and there's also Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. Cannot forget that one. Fucking amazing movie. But the point is, film noir is, my opinion. It asked me what's my favorite genre. I'm gonna tell you film noir. I love it. The grittiness, the sleaze. Film noir. It's the way to go. Thank you.